I read 10 books in the month of March, and we're a little bit into April now, but I still wanted to show you all the books that I read in March and give you a little bit of a review. So let's get straight into it. I'm just gonna have them sitting up here behind me. I hope they don't fall over while I chat through. But the first book that I read in the month of March was Girl Abroad by Elle Kennedy. I love any of Elle Kennedy's writing, and this one just had me captivated. I was very much in a reading slump for most of this year. That's probably why you haven't seen any wrap-up videos from me, but I was in a huge reading slump. But I'm out of it now and I'm loving reading again. So this was one of the first books that got me out of my slump. And it follows Abby, and she moves to London as a bit of an exchange student, and she's been talking to these people online to set up like a share house accommodation type vibe. And she chats to them thinking that they're all girls, and when she gets there, they're 3 boys. So she has to kind of navigate moving in with these boys and like all of that fun stuff. There's also a little bit of a mystery that she's trying to solve, which I wasn't expecting going into this book, but that part of the storyline had me captivated as well. And it also introduces her second love interest. So this is a love triangle book, which I loved. So one of the boys is one of the roommates, won't tell you which one, and then the other one is just a guy that she meets, and he kind of helps her with her investigation as well. So it's just really, really interesting, and the whole time I was really wanting it to be this one guy, and she does end up with the guy that I wanted it to be. So absolutely love this book. So I read this book in, I want to say like 2 or 3 days, and within the first 2 chapters I was hooked, and I just read it so fast. So if you're looking for a really fast-paced romance book but love triangle vibes, I would definitely pick this one up, because who doesn't love a good little love triangle? I gave this book 4 stars. Don't know how well my pile is going back here, but they're kind of falling over every single time I get books out. But the next books that I read I'm going to talk about together, because they're a trilogy and I don't really want to spoil the second and third one, so I'm just going to talk about them as a whole. So that is the Inheritance Game trilogy, which we have the Inheritance Games, the Hawthorne Legacy, and the Final Gambit. These are young adult mystery books, and I actually really enjoyed these. So I actually got these in a box set, I think from Big W or Kmart or something like that, and these are the old covers, and it was a box set of 3 for like 20 bucks I think. So that was a steal, and I just loved these books. So the first book follows Avery, and she is brought in because she has been named on a will for an old man that she had never met before. And when she walks in there, she realizes that they're all like a part of this billionaires thing. This person that's left her the money is a millionaire, or billionaire actually. He's a billionaire. And all of the like grandsons and his children are all like, why is she here? We don't know who she is. And the will gets read, and she has actually ended up with everything. But there is a twist, because the granddad was always into these little games. So they have to try and work out this mystery that he's left for them, and also try and work out what connection she has to this family. And it's so interesting. So there are 4 grandsons, and there's also a little bit of a love story going on, a little bit of a love triangle between her and 2 of the grandsons at the same time as this little mystery going on. And I was just captivated. I loved this series. I did want her to end up with a different brother, but still loved this series. And Jennifer Lynn Barnes has come out with a little spin-off which follows the 2 brothers from the love triangle, and it just kind of continues the story on. I started reading it, but I have given it a bit of a break because I think I didn't like the direction that the new spin-off books are going, but I did love these. So my review on them, so just looking back at my little review, I rated the first one 4.5 stars, the second one 4.5, and then the last one 4.75. I remember really liking how it finished up, and kind of how all of the different storylines were going on at the same time and how they all linked together. There was a part in the second book that I thought I had it all worked out, but turns out I didn't, and this whole other plot line ended up coming about in the third one. But I loved how it all connected together and kind of made sense at the end. Personally, I would have liked it if it just finished at 3 books. I have stopped reading the spin-off, but did enjoy the 3 books. Personally, I think it concluded really well, and it didn't need to have any more mystery coming in and any more things that they have to solve. so I kind of liked how it finished in this book, but I still will give the other spin-offs a bit of a go. But yeah, overall I'd rate the series about a 4-star. I did enjoy it, and it was a really fast-paced read for me. Next up, I read the One Dark Window series. So it's actually the Shepherd King series, book 1 and 2. And I actually really enjoyed these. The first book took me quite a while to get into. I think just going from like young adult mystery into a fantasy series was a bit much for me, and I had to like really concentrate on the world building and what was happening. So in the first book we follow Elspeth. Somebody correct me, I don't actually know how to say her name, but we follow her, and she actually has a little monster, she calls him the Nightmare, stuck in her brain, and he's kind of making his way more and more out into her conscious mind, and she constantly needs him to help her. And we meet the captain's guard, Raven, and they form a little bit of a connection, and there's just so much going on. So they go on a hunt for the 12 province cards because the world is kind of dying from a disease. So the 12 province cards, when they're used together, will heal this disease that's going on. So they go in search of the 12 cards together. I won't say too much about what happens in the second book because it kind of spoils what the first book is all about, but I did enjoy it once I got into the series and kind of understood the world a little bit more. When I first started reading it, I was like, what are these province cards? They don't make any sense to me. But essentially these cards give the user of the card a different power, but it also drains them a little bit depending on the kind of severity of the card and what they can be used for. So there's ones like the Maiden, which makes the person that uses it really beautiful. And yeah, there's lots of different cards that have different uses. So when I first started reading this book, I was like, I don't understand this concept of these cards. What are all the cards, and trying to remember what each one is used for. I understand the rave. I understand why everyone's raving on about it. It took me a little while to get into, but like I said, I think it was just coming from YA mystery straight into these. But still really enjoyed it. I gave the first one 4 stars, and actually once I was into it really enjoyed it, and I gave the second one 3.5 stars. And then last but not least, we have the Chestnut Springs series. I will talk about each book individually, but they are part of the same series, but they're all standalone romances that kind of intertwine. So I did read the first one, Flawless, in February, but the rest of them I read in March. So the first one that I read, and probably my favorite out of all of them, so we follow Cade, which is one of the brothers, and he has a son called Luke, and he really needs somebody to come on and look after him. So the girl from the first book brings in her friend to be the nanny for the little child, and the grumpy and sunshine vibes in this book is immaculate. He's such a grumpy man that's like, no one can come in and do this, blah 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 blah, and she comes in like all airy-fairy and like, I'm not going to take no shit from anybody, and she's like calling him out, and just the vibes are so there, and I really loved this book. However, the spicy scenes, I think in any book that has quite intense spicy scenes, they just feel a bit disconnected for me because they don't have the same vibes that the characters do. So in this book, the woman is very much still the same in the spicy scenes. She's very out there, like in his face. She's like that in the sex scenes as well. But for him, he really changes in the sex scenes, which I don't like when books do that. Like, just give me the same personality. So I felt disconnected in those scenes. However, really enjoyed the plot line of the story and loved this book. So I gave this one 4.5 stars. Next up, we have Powerless, my second favorite. This is a childhood friends to lovers vibe. So we have Jasper, who is kind of like, I want to say like a foster kid to the family, and they call each other cousins, but they're not cousins because she's related to the family but he's not in the family. It's kind of a bit weird, but I had to like disconnect that he's related because he's not related. He just kind of grew up with them, if that makes sense. He's like the best friend of one of the brothers. But yeah, they're two childhood best friends, and they both kind of just miss the mark with each other. I feel like more so him than her. He was like, I can't have her because I'm friends with him. And then on her wedding day, she ends up finding out that her husband cheated on her, and he kind of saves the day and pulls her away and takes her back to his hometown, and they just kind of form a bond again. So it goes from like friends to lovers, and Jasper is probably my favorite male character from this series. He's just so lighthearted and just so cute, And yeah, he was definitely my favorite male character from the series. Again, felt disconnected with the spicy scenes because he is so like loving, looks after her and everything, but then the spicy scenes he's really aggressive and just, it's not my vibe. But anyway, next up we have Reckless. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this book because going into it I knew that it was a pregnancy trope, and I was like, normally I don't like these, I feel like they're kind of not done right, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed this book. So we follow Winter, who is Summer from the first book's sister. She has a one-night stand with one of the friends of the family, Theo. She has a one-night stand with him and they end up falling pregnant, and it's just so amazing. I thought it was going to be immediately like he's in this relationship, blah blah blah. There was a lot of them building themselves. He comes back into the scene after the baby's a little bit older, and I really enjoyed that, and I loved how he stepped up, and yeah, just really enjoyed this book. So I gave this one 4 stars. Last up, and my final book for March, we have Hopeless. I was really looking forward to Beau's story because I really liked his character in the other books, because he is a part of the army, and I just knew that there was a lot of stuff that happens for him, and I was really excited to see his side of the story and what happens for him. He ends up getting in a fake relationship with one of the girls from the town because he really is trying to like save her from her family drama and like what she's brought up with, and also give his family something to like move away from so that they're not all on top of him, because he's just got back from being medically discharged from the army because there was an accident that happened. I really enjoyed this one. The tension between the two was amazing. She works in a bar and he goes in there and like constantly talks to her, and the tension between the two, because they're like, what's real, what's fake in our relationship, is really good. So the fake dating trope is probably one of my favorite tropes to read, so very much enjoyed this one, and I gave it 4 stars. So these are the 10 books that I read in March. If you like this style of video, I'm going to be filming a lot more of these now that I'm back in my reading era. So let me know if there's any books that you would like to see a specific review on, or any that you want me to delve more into. I'll definitely be responding to any comments in the comment section below, but I absolutely loved reading all of these books, and I'm so glad to be back in my reading era. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world, and I will see you very soon in another video.